I get asked this question a lot. And you might be asking the exact same question, but rest assured, I will go over all the details of why I chose a KTM 150 XCW rather than smaller dirt bikes. But first, hey, what's going on? I am Angelisa, a snowmobile and dirt bike enthusiast. I am so happy that you're here. And without further ado, let's get into the details and reasons why I ride a big girl dirt bike. So why did I lower my KTM 150 XCW dirt bike rather than buying a smaller dirt bike? I want to remind you, or if you're new here, I am just shy of 5 feet. So when I bought my KTM 150 XCW, I did a lot of modifications to it so that it would fit me perfectly and comfortably, because I went from smaller dirt bikes and wanted to be able to touch the ground. So I did a lot of modifications. If you're at all interested on all the modifications that I have done to set up my bike perfectly, you can watch that over here somewhere on the screen. But let's get into the very beginning of my dirt bike days. 6 or 7 years ago, I dipped my toes into the dirt bike scene in the Sea to Sky. I was based in Squamish, BC at the time, and I started off with a Honda 100 CRF 4-stroke. This was a great beginner bike, and it got me out of the house, explored our back roads, and dipped into the trails. I learned how to shift and how to balance on my bike and learn a sense of direction when it came to the Squamish backcountry or the Squamish trails. After my first year riding the Honda 100, I bought a KTM 85 SX. This was a bike that I bought off of a friend who was just a little taller than I was. So I trusted that this bike was great for me to get started with the type of riding I wanted to do. KTM is all the rave here in the Sea to Sky, so I was very excited to hop on my very own KTM and give this thing a whirl on a very well-known dirt bike within our area. At first, the dirt bike was peppy. Oh my gosh, scary, obnoxious, very loud. It took me a while to learn how to ride a 2-stroke from a 4-stroke and tame the beast, but when I look back and I think about it, I think really that KTM 85 SX tamed me, or it got me to be a better rider. This bike was so much fun. It really opened up a new world for me, and I learned of the dirt bike community within the Sea to Sky, which was really cool. However, I had problems with this dirt bike. My spark plugs failed on me more than I can count. I was either running the bike too rich or too light, and I couldn't for the life of me figure it out. I have taken it in to get it looked at, and no one could ever tell me what the ratio was for the oil and gas, and I looked it up, I did everything, and just nothing was working. At the end of the day, it ended up being my jetting. There was a jetting problem. But because there was so many failed spark plugs, I learned how to ride in neutral really fast downhill just to get over onto the other side of the uphill so that I didn't have to push my bike uphill or on the flats. And trust me, I have pushed that bike and all bikes, actually the next bike, so many times, like way more times than I can count, and it is hard work, and I had to be rescued many times. That was not fun. So after a couple years of riding that 85 SX and the multiple times that I've had to push that bike out of the trails and ride it in neutral just to get out, I wanted to find a bike that was more reliable, a little bit taller, and something that I just didn't have to push anymore. Next up, I found a 105 SX with a big wheel kit. Since I really enjoyed the 85 SX, I knew I wanted to up my game and ride a slightly bigger bike. So the 105 was exactly what I needed. I knew the feeling of the peppiness. It was the exact same with a little bit more power, and I was a little bit more taller, which was really cool. Also scary because I couldn't quite touch, and then I could touch. And the frame of the bike was very, very similar. So it was all in all a very good bike to transfer from the 85 to the 105. However, after I bought this bike, within 15 minutes of me riding on the back roads to get to the trails in Squamish, we were heading to Lava Flow, my motor blew. Within 15 minutes of me purchasing the bike, going for a ride, 15 minutes, boom, motor blown. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that I bought a new bike and this happened. We got the bike rebuilt and spent a lot of time and money on it. And after the build, I took it out a few more times, but once again experienced failed spark plugs and was told by multiple dealerships that I wasn't riding it fast enough or that I was riding it too fast. And I roll my eyes because if you rode with me during that time, you would know that I pinned that bike, like full throttle pinned on the back roads anytime I had a big stretch just to clear out my bike so that I wouldn't have another failed spark plug. I had so much anxiety from it because I didn't want to push my bike. Did not want to push my bike again and again. Another thing with the 85 SX and the 105 SX is kickstarting. Uh-oh. I had kickstarts on both these bikes. They do not come with e-start, so there were multiple times where I would be standing there for 20 minutes and my bike wouldn't turn over and I was kickstarting and oh my gosh, my hips did not love me at all. So that is something that my body was so fatigued with, and I was very frustrated because there were times where I just couldn't do it and I had to get other people to help me kickstart my bike. When I started riding more enduro obstacles, I was learning how to pop my front tire to get over logs or rocks or tires. And a few times I would smash my pipe because of commitment issues. When I didn't commit, I would land right on that pipe. And I actually do have a video about smashing pipes and you can watch that over here. That wasn't fun. So every time I would smash it, I didn't know it at the time, but I cracked the manifold just a little bit more until finally I smashed that pipe onto a log and it completely broke the manifold and I ended up having to get a new motor head, which is not cheap. My 105 SX was seriously in the shop more times than, again, I can count, and that I actually rode it. And after I got the motor head replaced and a new pipe installed, we took my bike to Golden. We had a trip to Golden, BC, and my husband, Kenny, and I went for a dirt scoot for our, I believe it was our 9-year anniversary at that time in 2021. And we were just riding up the back road to get into some trails over, like I said, in Golden, to the dirt bike trail system. And I was riding that bike so fast. Again, have a lot of anxiety. If I don't ride it fast enough, then I'm going to fail a spark plug. And then I blew up the motor. I was so over this bike at that point and just was so confused on why this kept happening, how many times I blew up motors and how many times I had failed spark plugs and how many times I was given false information, and there was nowhere online on how to fix any of these problems.
A couple grand. Get it out.
All right, so I think I blew my motor again. How do you feel?
Awesome.
Woo! Coasting down, as per usual. I'm a pro at it now. I was just, over it. I don't think I completed a full ride on that 105 SX without some issue, which is shitty. As I talk about these bikes, I really did love the 85 SX and the 105 SX, but talking to you guys and actually saying these things out loud make me realize that maybe I didn't love them. Like, I did love them at the time, but with all the problems and the financial loss and the depletion of my confidence and the amount of times of rebuilding these bikes, like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want that for anyone. So why did I put up with that for the last 5 years? I don't know, but here we are. Lessons learned. I also developed some anxiety from these bikes. Like I mentioned with the failed spark plugs, I didn't want to push my bike out again. I didn't want to be rescued again. I was just really worried every time I stepped on that bike what was going to happen. Which is not a good feeling, especially when you're going into the backcountry or onto trails and there's no cell service. Good thing I do ride with an inReach, so I can always have communication with Kenny. Now, I understand that both the 85 SX and the 105 SX are track bikes. I get that. Now, I did use them for both track and for enduro. The enduro trails were outside my front door. So it was so easy and accessible for me to get out and ride trails. And the track was about an hour and 20 minutes away. So it wasn't as easy for me to get to the track. But when I could, I would ride the track. So I did use the 85 and 105 SX for both enduro and track. I can't afford 2 dirt bikes or multiple dirt bikes. If I could, I absolutely would. And I would have a dirt bike for all of the things, but in my world it just doesn't exist. So I got to stick to one bike for both styles, for track and for enduro. So at the end of the day, I wanted a brand new dirt bike that was reliable and had no issues from the start, because riding enduro, trails, obstacles is way more accessible and easier for me to go and do rather than riding track. I decided to buy a KTM 150 XCW. And there's a few other reasons why I chose this bike. The tires on the KTM 150 XCW was a massive upgrade from the little bikes. And even though I lowered my KTM 150 almost 3 inches, so it's 2 inches and 3/4 of an inch lowered, I still have quite a bit of clearance when it comes to riding the trails. I do bottom out a few times, and I will be rising my bike a little bit, I guess, taller now that I have more confidence. But that was something that I noticed right away was how I was clearing everything and I wasn't hitting my skid plate on everything. That blew me away. And last but not least, I no longer have to kickstart my bike. That was a massive, massive thing for me. My hips loved me after making that switch. All the smaller bikes in the KTM family that are under the 150 are all kickstart. I debated on the 125 and the 150, but because the 125 was a kickstart, I went with the 150. And I went for it because of the easy push e-start, and when the e-start's not working, then I can kickstart. And you know what? One kickstart and boom, it starts and I can ride, and it is so easy. It just starts like a dream. The KTM 150 XCW is obviously a larger bike in frame size. It's bigger. There's a lot happening in between my legs, which I wasn't used to. But I truly did not want to find another used 105 KTM, as I have had way too much stress from used bikes, and it just made sense to go with something a little bigger and brand new. In a perfect world, I would ride a 105. If it was e-start, had massive tires, and it could get me over anything and everything, but that just simply doesn't exist. I truly did love these bikes, and I think they're great bikes to get started on when it comes to trails and enduro riding. But now looking back and doing the debate of the smaller bikes to what I have now, like, it's a no-brainer. I was very scared. I had low confidence going from the smaller bikes to the 150, but I am so happy that I did make that switch. My hips are happy. My husband's happy. He's not rescuing me anymore. I mean, there are like, you look at my bike now and it's not pretty. You know, I have a lot of things that I need to fix on it. I did smash my pipe again, but I am able to work on my suspension. I can higher up. Is that the word? I can lift my bike up a bit more to give me more clearance when it comes to obstacle riding and trail riding. And if I didn't hop on the 150 XCW, I would not have the confidence to hop on other bikes. I rode my husband's bike, which is a 250 YZ. Oh, what is it? His Yamaha 250. I have a mind blank right now. I can't remember what it is right now. Anyways, I hopped onto my husband's 250, and I hopped on my friend Carson's bike, KTM 300 XC, and I'm just stoked that I was able to do a couple obstacles on those bigger bikes. So if it wasn't for the 150, I wouldn't be there today. And who knows, maybe I will get a 250 or 300 in the future. I think I will. Because now that I'm used to the size of the bike, like the frame size, I really truly believe that I can ride anything now, which is awesome. My confidence has skyrocketed, and I no longer have to worry about blown motors. Now, knock on wood, because I say that now, and I'm going on to year 2 with my bike. So I guess anything can happen, but not saying it. I'm gonna have a great year. There's going to be a few more years on the 150 XCW, and I'm going to take good care of it. She's going to look nice by the time spring comes along. Let's just say that. I started a 30-day static balance dirt bike challenge on my KTM 150. And if you're interested to see my progression and catch my very first video, you can watch that over here and watch all the way up to the current date. It's been fun, challenging, and I'm committed and I'm staying consistent, which are big things for this year of 2023. Until next time, keep killing it safely out there on all of your BRAP adventures, and I will catch you on the next upload. Bye!